to you by Bezel 333.
Hello, Bezel 333. In today's pluralistic religious culture, there are many people who profess to be Christians who also engage in non-Christian religious practices such as yoga and meditation. So my question is, should a Christian engage in Buddhist Zen meditation? Is it a practice that should be considered neutral in terms of its effect on a person? Does the practice conflict with the teachings of Orthodox Christianity? Let's take a look.
It's early morning along the Pacific coast. Norman Fischer, a Buddhist priest who's been teaching meditation for over 3 decades, opens a day of silent meditation for practitioners of Zen Buddhism. Fischer says the practice he teaches doesn't conflict with other faith traditions, but can be helpful to anyone on the spiritual journey, a journey he calls to the bottom of the heart.
Now, Norman Fischer says there's no conflict with other religions. However, what is it that he says meditation will provide you with? Well, in his words, a journey to the bottom of the heart.
There is no better technique or practice for going into and working through and really understanding our heart and the hearts of others than meditation practice.
Now that's curious because the whole point of Buddhist meditation is to disengage from the self, of which the heart is at the core, in order to cease from all human desires which cause suffering. Now, as you probably know, in Buddhism there are the 4 noble truths. Life is suffering, the origin of suffering is desire, the end of suffering is possible, and following the Eightfold Path will end suffering. Now, the Eightfold Path is all about living right so as to end the cycle of karma and reincarnation and to attain nirvana, which is to not exist at all. No self, no person, no heart. Nothing but silence and space. Now, as meditation is central in the Buddhist followers' quest to this end, how can it be compatible with Christianity when the two worldviews are so divergent? Here are just a few points to consider. Buddhism denies a personal self. Christianity is based on the reality of personality. God is personal. God tells Moses his name. He says, "Tell the people I am has sent you." Buddhism teaches that all of life is suffering and that suffering just is. Christianity presents reality as a good creation gone wrong, by personal creatures willfully rebelling against their infinitely good and just Creator. Suffering is the consequence of this rebellion. Buddhism has no place for a personal God. Christianity affirms that the personal God who created all things will also restore this corrupted creation at the end of human history. The differences could not be more stark. Now, there is a certain form of meditating that is found in Holy Scripture, but it bears no resemblance to Buddhist meditation. Meditation as found in the Bible is always connected to God, His Word, and His works. Psalm 1, 1 and 2, "Blessed is the man that does not walk in the counsel of the ungodly, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in His law does he meditate day and night." Or Psalms 143, 5, "I remember the days of long ago. I meditate on all your works and consider what your hands have done." See, it's a quiet, mindful pondering and soulful consideration of God as He has revealed Himself through His Word. It is never once an inward-directed examination of one's heart.
He draws on traditional Jewish language and imagery in his teaching, such as Jacob's ladder.
The ladder rooted in the earth and stretching up toward heaven. That's the human body. That's the spine, is that ladder.
Now here, Mr. Fischer misuses the story of Jacob's ladder as a tool to help Jewish people experience Zen meditation. But what's tragic is that this story is not about us or our body or spine. It's pointing to Jesus, the Christ. Look at the text. In Genesis 28, Jacob is doing nothing. He's dreaming, and he sees a ladder extending from earth to heaven with angels going up and down on that ladder. But fast forward to John chapter 1 and see that Jesus is telling Nathanael that he himself is Jacob's ladder by which one enters heaven. Now those two passages are worth meditating on.
I'm part of a Christian meditation group in Sydney, Australia. When we sit down to meditate, our differences fade away as we share in the silence which connects us to each other and to God.
Growing up, I distinctly remember feeling that God was more inside than outside. Through meditating, I know that being is just as important as doing.
The gorgeous thing about meditation is that it gives us this opportunity to be really free, to be playful and to be ourselves. We're simply opening to space, to silence, to rest, and to presentness.
Now I want you to take note of some of the phrases that were used here. God is more inside than outside, and opening ourselves to silence and space. I think those terms are problematic for a Christian, and here's why. For the Christian, focusing on the inside is problem, not solution. Jesus said that from within come all kinds of evil thoughts and desires. That is why we are always to be looking outside of ourselves and our selfishness, and rather be meditating and praying on Jesus Christ and His gospel. You see, focusing on silence and space rather than the gospel reminds me of the story that Jesus told about the unclean spirit in Matthew 12. We read there, "Now when the unclean spirit goes out of a man, it passes through the waterless spaces seeking rest, and not finding any, it says, 'I'll return to my house from which I came.' And when it comes, it finds it unoccupied and swept clean. Then it goes and takes along 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and they go in and live there, and the last state of that man becomes worse than the first."
Buddhism in general is not committed to God or no God. It's committed to awakening. So taking this practice from Buddhism and applying it to Judaism, it's a way to go deeper into our heart, our mind, our consciousness.
Buddha is not a God. Buddha is not a human being. Buddha is awakened one, the enlightenment one. When I look at the Buddha as a great teacher who showed me the way to get out of the circle of illusion, hallucination, or suffering, I bow deeply in front of Buddha status to show my respect and my love to him. But I'm not prayer Buddha in terms of to
save you.
To help me to overcome all the problems I have to practice based on his teaching.
Now this is the most important difference between Buddhism and Christianity. First, the only kind of awakening in Christianity is coming to the point of admitting that you are a sinner who is alienated from God, who by rebelling against Him in thought and word and deed justly deserves His divine judgment. Practicing the teachings of Buddha, or Jesus for that matter, will not save you from God's just judgment. Only something outside of you, namely the gospel of Jesus, can do that. Romans 4:5, "And to the one who does not work, but believes in Him, Jesus, who justifies the ungodly, his faith is counted as righteousness." Friend, commit yourself to meditate on that reality. And then, when your heart becomes soft and receptive, pray to the Lord of heaven and earth to save you, a sinner, as you trust in Jesus alone for your right standing with God.